Hey, buddy, hit that subscribe. Just a sec for you, but it means the world to me. I still remember the smell before anything else. Burnt coffee, cheap flowers, that weird mix of perfume and grief that hangs in the air after a funeral when nobody knows whether to cry, talk, or just leave. My wife loved dark roast coffee. Strong, no sugar, no nonsense. The kind that wakes you up and reminds you you're still alive. That day, it just made my stomach turn. People kept shaking my hand, saying the same things over and over. I'm so sorry for your loss. She was a wonderful woman. Let us know if you need anything. Then my daughter grabbed my arm. Rebecca didn't pull me gently. She pulled me like she was late for a meeting. She dragged me out of the reception hall and into a narrow hallway at the back of the funeral home. The walls smelled like cleaning spray and old wood polish. I could still hear soft music playing in the background, something Linda had picked herself. She always planned everything. Rebecca didn't look like she'd lost her mother 3 days ago. Her makeup was flawless, not a tear smudged. She wore a black dress that screamed expensive, the kind you don't wear unless you want people to notice. Her husband, Derek, stood behind her, arms crossed, blocking the hallway like a bouncer. That's when she said it. Dad, listen carefully. Your comfortable life is over. You need to sign these papers right now, or you're going to lose everything. I blinked at her. I honestly thought I'd misheard. What? I said. My throat was raw from crying all morning. Rebecca tapped her tablet. Documents glowing on the screen. You're not capable of handling your affairs anymore. You're emotional. You're unstable. I've already talked to a lawyer. I stared at her like she was a stranger wearing my daughter's face. Rebecca, your mother was buried on Tuesday. I said quietly. It's Friday. Can we not do this right now? Derek stepped forward, voice calm, rehearsed. Robert, be reasonable. You're grieving. You're not thinking straight. Rebecca is just trying to help. Help. That word hit me harder than anything else. Rebecca put her hand on my arm. The same hand I'd held when she learned to walk. The same hand I bandaged when she fell off her bike. Dad, I love you, she said softly. That's why I'm doing this. Mom would want me to take care of you. She slid the tablet closer. You need to give me power of attorney. And we need to sell the house before things get worse. The house. Linda and I built that house with our own hands 36 years ago. Raised our daughter there. Laughed there. Fought there. Loved there. You want to sell my house? I said. Rebecca sighed like I was being difficult. It's too big for you now. Too many memories. You need to downsize. A condo. Assisted living, maybe. Derek and I will handle everything. People were starting to wander into the hallway. I could see my sister-in-law watching us, concern written all over her face. Rebecca leaned closer and lowered her voice. We can do this the easy way or the hard way, Dad. But it's happening. Any judge would agree you're not competent right now. I didn't sign anything. I told her we'd talk later, when I could think straight. She didn't argue. She just turned and walked out of the funeral home like none of us mattered. That was the first moment I realized something was seriously wrong. The next morning, I woke up alone. Linda's side of the bed was cold. Sunlight poured through the window because I'd forgotten to close the curtains. For half a second, I reached over, expecting her to be there. Then reality punched me in the chest. I went downstairs to make coffee. When I tried to pay for groceries later that morning, my credit card declined. So did my debit card. I checked my phone. For emails from my bank, sent around 3 a.m., all my accounts were frozen due to suspicious activity. I called the number they gave me. After 20 minutes on hold, a woman with a calm, scripted voice finally answered. Mr. Morrison, your accounts have been temporarily frozen due to concerns regarding your mental capacity. I laughed, a short, broken laugh. What concerns? We received documentation stating you may be suffering from early-stage dementia. My hand started shaking. What documentation? I asked. A notarized letter from a physician, she said. Your daughter has applied to become your power of attorney. I hung up. I called Rebecca immediately. She answered on the first ring. I was hoping you'd call, Dad, she said. What did you do? I asked. I protected you, she replied. You're not well. You haven't been since Mom got sick. I don't have dementia, I said. You left the stove on twice last month, she shot back. Mom told me, you forget to eat. You're confused. None of that was true. I froze your accounts temporarily, she continued, until we get you into a proper facility. A facility? Memory care. Derek knows a great one. My stomach dropped. I'm not going anywhere, I said. Her voice went cold. I have a doctor's statement, witnesses, and legal paperwork. You can fight me, but you'll lose. What doctor? I asked. There was a pause, just a second too long. Dr. Patterson, she said. I've never heard of him. That's the problem, Dad, she replied. You don't remember. She told me she'd be at the house the next morning with a real estate agent. Then she hung up. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Linda, about how careful she always was, how she handled our finances, organized everything, labeled folders for everything. At 3 a.m., I went into her office. That's when I found the folder. It was labeled with my daughter's name. Inside were printed emails, messages Rebecca had sent over the past year, begging for money, tens of thousands of dollars. Linda had said no every time. The last email made my blood run cold. When you're gone, I'll get what I'm owed anyway. Dad won't last long without you. My daughter had planned this. Before Linda was even gone, a knock at the front door. When I opened it, a police officer stood there. Young, polite. Mr. Morrison, he said, your daughter requested a wellness check. I realized then how deep this went, and I knew this was only the beginning. I thought losing my wife was the worst thing that could happen to me. I was wrong, because in less than 24 hours, my daughter had frozen my money, tried to steal my home, and convince authorities I was losing my mind. And the next morning, she was coming back with strangers to take my house. That I didn't sleep at all that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Rebecca's face in that hallway. Not angry, not sad, just cold, like she'd already decided I was an obstacle, not a father. Around sunrise, I sat at the kitchen table, staring at Linda's coffee mug, the one with the tiny chip on the rim she refused to throw away. That's when the truth really sank in. I had no access to my money, no legal protection, and apparently no control over my own life. I tried calling my doctor, closed for the weekend. I tried calling my brother Michael, straight to voicemail. Then my phone buzzed. Text from Rebecca. Officer says you're doing fine. See you at 10. Please have the house ready. She'd already talked to the police. That's when fear finally kicked in. Not panic, not confusion. Fear, the kind that crawls up your spine when you realize someone you love is playing chess while you're still playing checkers. At 8:30 a.m., I heard a car pull into the driveway. I didn't answer the door. Another knock, louder this time. Then her voice, sharp and fake sweet, coming through the mail slot. Dad, I know you're in there. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I opened the door. Rebecca walked in like she owned the place. Derek followed, glued to his phone. Behind them was a woman I'd never seen before, camera around her neck, tablet in hand. This is Sandra, Rebecca said. She's a real estate agent. The agent looked uncomfortable. She glanced at me, then back at Rebecca. Your daughter says you're ready to list the property, Sandra said carefully. I'm not selling my house, I said. Rebecca laughed. Not real laughter, more like a warning. Dad, stop. We already talked about this. You agreed. I didn't agree to anything. The room went quiet. Sandra shifted her weight. I can't list a property unless the owner wants to sell or I see legal power of attorney. Rebecca's smile disappeared instantly. My father has dementia, she snapped. I have a doctor's statement. Sandra shook her head. That's not enough. I need the actual POA documents. Rebecca's jaw tightened. Derek finally spoke. Babe, maybe we should go. Rebecca ignored him. She leaned closer to me and whispered, I can have you declared incompetent. Do you really want a judge deciding if you're crazy? Get out of my house, I said. This isn't your house anymore, she whispered back. You just don't know it yet. They left. I locked the door behind them and slid down against it, shaking. That's when I realized something important. Rebecca wasn't acting out of grief. She was desperate. So I went back upstairs to Linda's office and looked deeper. That's when I found the rest. Credit card statements, past due notices, printed emails Linda had saved but never shown me. Rebecca had been asking for money for over a year. Not small amounts either. 50,000, 30,000, then less and less, like a gambler chasing losses. Linda had said no every single time, and now Linda was gone. Rebecca didn't need me to be sick. She needed me to be powerless. A knock came at the door again. This time, it was a police officer. You okay, sir? He asked gently. Your daughter was worried. Of course she was. I told him the truth about the accounts, the threats, the fake doctor. He listened, nodded, took notes. Then he said the words I didn't want to hear. That's a civil matter. You need a lawyer. After he left, I sat alone in a house that suddenly felt way too quiet. But then something clicked. Linda had a lawyer, a good one. And if Rebecca thought I was done fighting, she had no idea who she'd just messed with. My daughter thought freezing my money would break me. She thought getting the police involved would scare me into signing my life away. But she made one mistake. She underestimated what a man is capable of. When you threaten everything he's built, I made the call on a Sunday afternoon. I didn't even know if he'd pick up. Paul Whitmore, the voice said after 2 rings. My chest tightened. Paul, this is Robert Morrison. You helped my wife and me with our wills years ago. There was a pause. Then his tone softened. Robert, I heard about Linda. I'm really sorry. What's going on? That question opened the floodgates. I told him everything. The funeral hallway, the frozen accounts, the fake dementia claim, the mystery doctor, the real estate ambush. I expected doubt, maybe pity. Instead, there was silence. Long, heavy silence. Then Paul said something that snapped me out of my fear. Robert, this isn't a family disagreement. This is elder abuse. I swallowed hard. Can you help me? Yes, he said, but we need to move fast. Bring everything you have. Tomorrow morning, 8:30. Paul's office smelled like old books and fresh coffee. He was dressed casual, jeans, polo, like he'd come in just for me. That alone told me how serious this was. He read Linda's folder slowly, didn't interrupt, didn't rush. When he finished, he leaned back and exhaled. Good news first, he said. There is no Dr. Patterson. What? I already checked the medical registry, Paul continued. No licensed physician by that name in this province, which means the document your daughter used is forged. My hands clenched. So the bank accepted fraudulent paperwork, he finished. They're going to be very motivated to fix that. For the first time since Linda died, I felt something other than grief. Relief. Paul started writing like his pen was on fire. Today, I'm filing an emergency motion to unfreeze your accounts. I'm also sending formal notice to your bank. Your daughter does not have power of attorney. She can't get it without your signature or a court order. And a judge. I asked. Paul looked at me over his glasses. Would laugh her out of the courtroom. Then his tone changed. But this is going to get ugly. By Tuesday evening, my accounts were restored. The bank called me personally. Apologized. Promised an internal investigation. That same night, Paul called again. I did some digging, he said. Robert, your daughter and her husband are drowning. How bad? Derek filed for bankruptcy last week. They're being foreclosed on. Over $300,000 in debt. The air left my lungs. Paul continued. Your house wasn't a bonus. It was their last lifeline. Then he dropped the bomb. Rebecca's been stealing from her employer. Around $60,000 over the past year. I stared at the wall. My daughter wasn't just desperate. She was criminal. She planned to use your money to cover it, Paul said. And once the theft is discovered, she's facing serious charges. What do we do? I asked. We go on offense. The police came 2 days later. Not for me, for her. 2 detectives sat across from me at my kitchen table. I gave them everything: emails, statements, timelines. Linda's folder became evidence. Your daughter will be brought in for questioning, one of them said. We recommend you stay somewhere else for a few days. In case of what? In case she reacts badly. That night, my brother Michael drove down and stayed with me. It felt good not to be alone. Friday afternoon, exactly 1 week after Linda's funeral, Rebecca was arrested. They found forged documents, fake wills, even drafts naming herself the sole heir. She called me from jail. Dad, please, she cried. Drop the charges. I made mistakes. You made choices, I said. Mom wouldn't want this. Mom knew exactly who you were becoming. I replied. That's why she kept records. She went quiet. I hung up. I thought the nightmare was finally over. I was wrong, because the next step wasn't justice. It was sentencing, and I was about to find out just how far a judge would go when a child betrays their own parent. The courtroom felt colder than it should have. Not temperature cold, judgment cold. The kind of cold that sinks into your bones when you realize everything said in this room will follow you for the rest of your life. I sat in the second row, hands folded, staring straight ahead. Rebecca sat at the defense table. She didn't look at me. Her hair was pulled back tight. No makeup, no confidence, no power. Just a woman who finally ran out of lies. The prosecutor spoke first. Calm, precise, ruthless. He laid it all out. The forged medical letter, the fake doctor, the frozen accounts, the attempted sale of my house, the fake will. Each sentence felt like a hammer striking stone. Then came the emails. Linda's emails. The ones where Rebecca begged for money. The ones where Linda said no. The last one, the threat. I felt my chest tighten, but I didn't look away. I owed Linda that much. Rebecca's lawyer tried to paint her as overwhelmed. Financial stress, emotional trauma, grief. The judge wasn't buying it. When it was my turn to speak, I stood slowly. My daughter didn't steal from me because she was grieving. I said, she stole because she thought I was weak. Rebecca finally looked up. I met her eyes. I buried my wife, I continued. Then I almost lost my life while I was still alive. The courtroom was silent. The judge leaned forward. You betrayed the person who gave you life at his most vulnerable moment, she said to Rebecca. That is not desperation. That is cruelty. Rebecca started crying. Not for me, for herself. The sentence came down like a door slamming shut. 18 months in prison. 3 years probation. No contact order. Derek got a year, as they led Rebecca away in handcuffs. She didn't turn back. I didn't expect her to. That night, Paul came over with a bottle of whiskey. We sat on my porch in the cold, the house quiet behind us. How are you holding up? He asked. I won, I said, but it doesn't feel like winning. Paul took a sip. You didn't lose her today. You lost her a long time ago. That truth hit harder than the verdict. Winter passed slowly. I sold the house in the spring, not because she tried to take it, but because I was ready to let go. I moved into a condo near my brother. Smaller, quieter, safer. I started volunteering at a legal aid clinic, helping people like me, people who thought family meant protection. That's where I met Helen. She understood grief. She didn't rush me. We took things slow. For the first time in years, I laughed again. I thought the story ended with a prison sentence. But prison doesn't always mean remorse. Because a few months later, I got a letter from my daughter, and what she asked for shocked me. The letter showed up on a Tuesday, plain white envelope. My name typed, not written. No return address, just a correctional facility stamp in the corner. I knew who it was from before I opened it. I almost threw it away. But curiosity is a dangerous thing, especially when it comes dressed as closure. So I opened it. Dad, I know you probably hate me. That's how it started. Not I'm sorry. Not I was wrong. Just I know you probably hate me. She wrote about prison being hard, about sleepless nights, about how everyone there lies, cheats, and manipulates, which would have been ironic if it didn't make my stomach turn. Then came the real reason for the letter. She needed money. Again, just enough to help me get a lawyer, she wrote. Just enough to plan for when I get out. I folded the letter slowly. Same playbook, different setting. I didn't respond. A week later, another letter came. This one mentioned Mom. How Linda would want forgiveness. How family is family. How I was being stubborn. That's when anger finally replaced sadness. Not explosive anger. Clear anger. The kind that lets you see things exactly as they are. I took the letters to Paul. He read them quietly, then slid them back to me. She's testing you, he said, seeing if she can still get access. Even now. I feel like a terrible father, I said. Paul shook his head. No, you're finally acting like a healthy one. That stuck with me. Life moved on, slowly but forward. Helen and I started having dinner instead of coffee. We talked about everything and nothing. We didn't try to fix each other. That made all the difference. I kept volunteering. I watched people twice my age realize their kids were draining them dry. I saw the same shock I felt in their eyes. I helped them stand back up. Another letter came. I didn't open it. I didn't have to. Some doors don't need closure. They just need to stay closed. I thought ignoring my daughter would finally bring peace. But peace has a funny way of testing you. Because just when I believed it was over, I learned she was getting out sooner than expected. And I had one last decision to make. I found out she was getting out through Paul. She'll be released early for good behavior, he said. A few months. I didn't say anything at first. I just stared out the window of my condo, watching traffic move like nothing in the world had ever gone wrong. Do you want a restraining order extension? Paul asked. Yes, I said immediately, not out of anger, out of clarity. Helen noticed a change in me that night. You're quieter, she said over dinner. My daughter's getting out, I replied. She didn't offer advice. She didn't tell me what I should do. She just reached across the table and held my hand. Sometimes that's enough. The release date came and went. No call, no letter, no knock at the door. That surprised me. But peace doesn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it just stays quiet. On Linda's birthday, I went to the cemetery with sunflowers, her favorite. I told her about everything. About the clinic. About Helen. About learning to live without fear. I'm okay, I said. You did your best. I'm doing mine now. The wind moved through the trees. For the first time in years, I felt light. I'm 69 now. I wake up every morning, make dark roast coffee, and remind myself of one simple truth. Survival isn't about winning. It's about refusing to be erased. My daughter tried to take my life without ending it. She failed. I built a new one instead. People think family betrayal breaks you forever. It doesn't. Sometimes it teaches you who you are. When everything you trusted falls apart. I'm Robert Morrison. I'm still standing. And this time, no one's taking anything from me again.